Welcome back, everybody. We're here with this 2003 Toyota Tundra. We're doing front strut assemblies, new shocks, new springs, because these springs actually collapsed, and this thing is like got a 2-inch drop to it now. And we're gonna do rear shocks in this video. I'm gonna show you how to do it step by step. Save yourself some money, do this yourself. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and let's get into it. Step 1, jack up your car, remove your wheels on both sides. The front passenger side is 171347R for right. For the driver's side front, we got 171347L left. Use a 15mm, remove the 3 nuts on top. Use a 19mm wrench and a 19mm socket to remove this nut and bolt on the bottom control arm. We got a problem here. The last mechanic that was in here, and he put the bolt in from that side and the nut. The other side of the truck was correct. The bolt goes from the front where it actually can come out. Over on this side, it's hitting my axle, so there's no bolt or nut on the bottom anymore. There's no nuts on top, but this thing's still stuck. Jam a pry bar in here, hit it with a big juicy hammer, and pry it down. So for some reason, this mount or rubber, something up there, has melded to the metal, does not want to let go. Hopefully yours just pops right out, but mine, I have to pry it apart from this strut mount. Open the baggie of nuts that the strut came with. So the struts were labeled left and right. And the design of this is it only faces this direction to fit in that slot in one scenario of these bolt holes here. So you just rotate it around until it lines up with the bolt holes. Slide it in, put these guys in a hand tight, and see how this is facing outside the car and the holes are facing front to back, and they line up with this. There's only one rotation of this that makes it all line up, so you can't even screw this up. The top is nice and torqued down now. Now you're gonna jack up the bottom control arm, line up this hole with the strut, put the bolt in from the front through, put the washer and the nut on the CV shaft side, torque down this bolt that holds the strut to the bottom if you haven't already. Here's a part number I have, Monroe 37238. It's going to be the same for both sides. This design is very, very, very stupid. So they put the shock up in there so you can barely even see it. That's a 14mm. To make it easier to take apart, since everything's old and rusty and nasty anyways, and we're throwing this shock in the trash, you're going to put a vice grip around here, tighten that down. Then you're going to put a 14 ratchety wrench on top, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You lube it all. Obviously put some PB Blaster, WD-40, something on the threads up there. And then we're going to crank this one here. We're going to go back and forth and just hold the ratchet on top, go back and forth on the bottom. I'm doing this while I have the jack just barely supporting the axle. That'll take as much weight as possible off of the nut up here, so it should come apart easier. It was just slipping on here, so I took a grinder with a sandpaper disc. I flattened 2 edges, and now I'm going to try it again. Old garbage never wants to come apart. So that worked. I have them off now. Now I'm going to jack the car up and get the bottom bolt and nut off, and then I can remove this. Use a 17mm on both sides here. We have a nut and a bolt. just grab a little hammer, take it out on both sides. Since we're not attached to anything up top anymore, you just set this off to the side, and then we can hopefully just grab it, wiggle it, take it out. The new shock comes with 2 bushings, 2 washers, and a nut. You go ahead, you put the first washer where the cup is facing up. You want this little ring of rubber facing up. Then you're going to push this through the hole. Then you're going to take this one with the little ring facing down. Then you take this cup facing down. And then finally, take the nut and you screw it on. For this shock, this rod is part of this, which is also part of the center shaft. So it's threading on really easy. There's no rust or anything. So you can pretty much just hold this, use your 14mm ratchet wrench, and while you're holding this with your hand, tighten this down till it feels nice and snug. These bushings should look compressed. They shouldn't look like this. They should look a little bit bulged. And as long as it looks like that, then you know you're done. Holding it here and ratcheting up there was good enough. And if I try to turn this, it doesn't turn, so that also proves that it's tight. Now we're going to line up the bottom here. When you support that, you might have to tap this in with a rubber mallet, whatever. Get it lined up, put the bolt through, and then you're going to put your nut back on, tighten it all down, and we're going to go on this side and do the same thing. Once both sides are tight, looking good, double check everything, make sure there's nothing weird, loose, making noises, give it a little tug.